Hulk smash! Sorry, it's the green shirt here, and somebody privately made a comment that I look like the Hulk with my huge head, giant forehead, I guess, and the green shirt. It's a good shirt, so I'm not going to rip it off and expose my bare chest, which I think the entire world can appreciate. My chest is pale and ghostly white, just like the rest of me. I'm Irish. We don't tan, we burn. Anyway, back onto some semblance of a topic. My About Damon Fowler video has now attracted some 50-plus comments from people. Admittedly, some of them are mine responding to people, but I didn't expect the debates to go in the direction they did, but looking back, I should have known better. It's interesting to me that people don't really want to argue about whether the prayer in the school was legal, or whether the valedictorian was wrong in publicly praying and making everybody listen. Even though it had been raised that, some people don't like it, and it's against the law to use the school to push a religion. No. Nobody wanted to debate that. Or at least, not much. There's occasionally some reference to it in the arguments that have ensued since, but most of it has been debating the merits of Christianity. And I love this because it shows the overall insecurity that the average religious person has. They don't like it when their religion is questioned. They absolutely hate the idea of a person existing who doesn't believe in any of it. It's interesting to me that that in the United States especially, atheists are trusted even less than Catholic priests to care for children. They are the least likely group to successfully win an election bid to public office. And more people dislike atheists than any other group. In other words, Christians hate Muslims less than they hate atheists. And that the proof of this is borne out in the comments on that video. If you have an hour to sit and read all this babble, you're more than welcome to go check out the comments there. But part of the debate that always interests me is the moving goalposts and the really cheap cop-out tactics that people use when they're defending their religion. Now, I'm talking specifically about some Christians that I've been arguing with, and Christianity as a whole, but really every religion has behavior like this. I'm just holding up Christianity as an example, because it's the religion I'm most familiar with. Richard Dawkins does this in The God Delusion, and he's a far better debater on this topic than I am, but I'd like to think I hold my own. The problem that I always observe is threefold. There's basically three different ways that Christians typically defend Christianity. The first two are related. They're both deflections. The first defense is, Christians do good things, which is true. There are food banks and homeless shelters run by Christians. The Salvation Army thrift stores are run by Christians. I seem to remember there being some controversy about that store, and I don't shop there because of its Christian ties. But I don't remember if that's just my own decision or if there was some big scandal about them that also made me not want to shop there. Either way, I don't bother. But still, the idea is noble. And yes, Christians do some good things. Every religion has people that do good things. And nobody's really disputing that. But that deflection kind of ignores all the bad stuff that Christians do. One of the threads of comments in the About Damon Fowler video features a very angry person listing a bunch of names of alleged atheists who have committed horrible crimes. And among them on the list, which really makes me laugh because this person just doesn't read, doesn't know enough about history to actually get this right. But among the names were two that stood out for me. These people are alleged to be atheists by this person. One is Adolf Hitler, evil bad man, the poster child for all that is evil, and Jeffrey Dahmer, who was also not a very nice person. Now, this commenter claims that both of these men were atheists. And look at all the bad things they did. Trouble is, that's not accurate. It's not even close to accurate. Hitler was Catholic. If you read Mein Kampf, which is the book he wrote on an assortment of interesting topics, you'll note that he makes many references to the Christian God and is a Christian himself. In fact, during his rise to power in Germany, he had the support and backing of the Catholic Church. And he made an agreement with them in exchange for their help in his political rise to power. They in turn got first crack at being the nation's official religion. Land was given to churches for free or inexpensively, and it was a mutual back-scratching pact. So, no, Hitler was most definitely Christian. And he took advantage of a lot of anti-Semite attitudes and beliefs among the German populace at the time. And that's what eventually led to the Holocaust, which murdered millions of people. It was his idea. He pushed it. He made it happen. And it was his religious beliefs that pushed him over the edge to actually do it. Jeffrey Dahmer is another exception here, another incorrect assertion that he's Christian, or that he's atheist. Jeffrey Dahmer was born to a fundamentalist Christian, arguably an extremist. It's believed that his father abused his mother and his second wife. And Dahmer himself used religion, used his Christianity, to justify his killings. And you'll find that this is a common thread among pretty much every modern serial killer. They were trying to satisfy evil spirits, or they were trying to drive out the evil from somebody, and it went too far and they died. But that is a common thread with serial killers today. They use their religious people, and they use their religious tenets to justify their actions. So this leads me to the second thing that Christians love to do when they're defending their religion, and that's to deflect by making the claim, well, atheists do bad things. Well, okay. Everyone does bad things. Plenty of people of all religions do awful things. I will still argue that atheists do far less as far as evil goes. Simply because religion provides a list of people to hate, a list of reasons why you should hate them, and even instructions on what to do to them when you find them. I gave numerous examples from the Bible, which will lead me to my third point, describing how women are second-class citizens, that they should obey their husbands silently, that they should never teach a man that they must be subservient and obedient to their husbands. There's I forget what book this is from, but there's a passage that describes the punishment for raping a woman as paying off her father. And once you do that, she's yours. You can do what you want to her. So, if you're a good Christian and you believe in everything in the Bible, you can just go rape somebody, and then find her family, pay them some paltry sum, $50 or something like that, and you can take her home, keep her, do what you want to her. Christians don't like hearing that. And this invokes their third tactic when their religion comes under criticism. And that is cherry-picking out of the Bible. See, when you talk to the average Christian, oh, well, we don't take that part of the Bible literally. Or, oh, you can't use Deuteronomy to make that claim. In fact, the commenter that brought up the serial killers made that very argument, that, what did he say? Only a troglodyte would refer to Ezekiel and Deuteronomy to point to domestic violence, abuse against women, and hatred of non-believers. The problem I have with this is that on one hand, we've got Christians saying, well, you can't take everything in the Bible literally, or that's not true, or the Old Testament is just a bunch of stories, it's not meant to be taken literally. And on the other hand, we have the assertion that the Bible, the whole thing, is the directly inspired divine word of their God. Those two don't balance. Which is it? Either this book was written by your God, and every word in it is vital, or, it's just some stories to teach some basic moral values. It teaches some pretty horrible values, to be honest. Sure, it says don't kill, don't steal, don't worship false idols, but then, ironically, it puts up an idol and tells you to worship it. It also tells you to kill non-believers, to abuse women, to abuse children. To dishonor one's parents is a mortal sin, so you can be punished for eternity just for being a kid that disagrees with your parents. And I think we can think of a few situations in all of our childhoods where we did disagree with our parents. Well, we're all going to hell for it. Oops. Cherrypicking really points out the problem with the Bible. People only want to interpret the Bible in a way that fits with their own personal beliefs. Now, those beliefs stem typically from indoctrination as in their childhood, by their parents, by their church members, by the Sunday school nonsense. And what you're left with is a child that's taught to hate certain groups of people and certain kinds of thinking. And also, depressingly, you have a child that is satisfied with the explanation, God did it. It's a way of teaching lazy thinking to kids. And that's where a lot of the bigotry and hatred from religion really gets instilled in people. That's why some are just so firmly committed to this, no matter how much you point out inconsistencies or problems with the Bible or the religion or the behavior of its members. They will steadfastly defend it. Move the goalposts, so to speak. Anytime you point out some flaw in their argument, they'll just use another argument. They don't bother ever owning up to the fact that they're wrong on any part of it. At no point during these discussions that I've had so far has anybody capitulated any point. No one will admit that it might be wrong to force an atheist to listen to a Christian prayer. They won't admit that the Bible contains horrible passages. Hell, one person won't even acknowledge that believing in God makes him religious. I loved that one. The comment specifically was, I am not religious. I believe God. Capital G. Capital B, too, because apparently nobody on YouTube knows how to write. But what really amused me was that line. That just cracked me up. I'm not religious. I believe God. A friend of mine tried to point out that technically he's correct. A Christian believes in Jesus Christ's existence and salvation. But that's not religious. And I kind of stepped back and looked at her a bit funny, electronically. This was over IM. And pressed her on the point, and again, I got the same religious reaction of just backing away from the argument and changing the subject, which is kind of a rare one for her. I know she's religious and doesn't, and begrudgingly accepts that I'm atheist. And to her credit, she keeps religious discussions with me to a minimum. But when I vented about this particular comment, I'm not a Christian, or I'm not religious, I believe God. That is the dumbest oxymoron I've ever heard. That's a direct contradiction. And only a religious person could make that argument. So, anyway, my point here for this long video, sorry folks, is, are Arguing with a religious person can be a frustrating experience because they are convinced that they're right, and no amount of proof or evidence will ever sway them the other way. They'll even tell you as much. No atheist can ever convince me that there's nothing after death. Okay, well, you're going to die someday, and if you won't be bummed out about it because you'll be dead. There won't be a second life for you to look back on and go, ha ha, he was wrong. You're going to be gone. You'll be on your deathbed praying to your God, and that'll be among your final thoughts, and then the lights go out and you're done. That's it. But when somebody tells you that no one can ever convince him of something, they're stuck. They're in a firm belief system that will never change. At least, that won't be changeable by simple words. It takes actions and experience and time to make a person like that realize that they're wrong. And the sad truth is, some people never do realize it, and they die thinking that they're ready to move on to the next life of heavenly goodness and happiness, and of course they never get there. Someone brought up Pascal's Wager, which of course is easily refutable. There's the gambler's objection, the likelihood objection, and some other logical fallacies in Pascal's Wager that make it irrelevant and make it a useless point. That one came up, and what gets demonstrated over and over is a lack of thinking. These people just don't actually think about this. They think of excuses. They can rationalize anything in their religious belief system. But they can't step back and look at it objectively. They can't just stop and think about what they're saying in terms that aren't religious. And that's the big challenge when debating people like this. I have to say that Richard Dawkins has to be the most patient man I have ever seen in my life. He debates all sorts of people, including some very frustrating religious people like Wendy Wright. And he does it with a straight face. He politely listens, and he offers evidence and refutes assertions that he believes are wrong. He never loses his cool, doesn't lose his temper, and stays very polite and cordial, even as people like Wendy Wright just keep repeating the same dreck over and over. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you're going to take a position as an atheist and be public about it, expect some very stupid arguments. Because there are no good ones to support religion. There's more harm in what religion does than there is good in what religion does. You don't have to look very far to see it. If you want some very good critiques of religion to kind of figure out why exactly religion is bad for us, there are two fantastic books by different authors that I suggest you read. The first is The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins, which takes a more intellectual critique of religion in general and Christianity specifically. And also by Christopher Hitchens, God is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything. That's a more, I would say, honestly more effective book, because he goes for the jugular. He calls out religions and Christianity in particular for some of the horrible things that they've done to people over the years. And he makes a very compelling argument that religion poisons your thinking, your ethical beliefs, your morals, and your behavior. And he's right. And I know that's a spoiler for the book, I guess, but it's in the title, so it's not like it's a big mystery. But yeah, give those two books a read, or give them a quick thumb through, or listen to the audiobooks, or whatever. Even if you disagree completely with the premise, you owe it to yourself to at least listen. It's the first step in actually freeing your mind from the shackles of religion. Thinking for yourself. So anyway, this has been a long one, 19 minutes here so far. So I'll cut it off here. I just wanted to vent a little bit about the annoyance of debating people that really aren't interested in debate. They want to preach instead of argue. and that's what most religious people do. Later in the week I should have some other videos to post, but until then, thanks for sitting through this long one, and I will see everyone later. Thanks for all the follows to my new followers. I appreciate that, and there should be more coming. Thanks for watching.